Hello, very good evening to all of you. Today we are going to discuss the case note of Miss Raquel Jackson. And this is a letter to the emergency department physician for an urgent assessment and management. So this letter is to address to the emergency department, to the ER of Delmont Private Hospital, North Terrace, Adelaide, South Australia. That's this is a letter which carries information, only an emergency information. That's what we need to understand here. Let us go ahead and see what exactly this letter has. Let's see the very beginning. Yes, the patient details is Miss Raquel Jackson. She is 62. So 62-year-old Raquel Jackson. You can see that the medical history here, because social background, it's not important because it's a letter to an emergency department doctor. So we are not going to give any social background. Mother Hashimoto disease, husband died due to colon cancer. These all things we have no relevance here in a letter which is written to an emergency department doctor. So what we have to include here in the medical history is type 2 diabetes mellitus, and the medicine which she is taking, that metformin 200 mg. Now we have one more medical history here, well-controlled rheumatoid. If it is controlled since 2004, then we don't need to inform this to the emergency department. Anyway, if she is on Brufen for on a regular basis, then it would have been relevant. That's whenever relevant. So now the arthritis condition is well controlled, so it has no relevance there. Now let's go ahead with the main thing here, laparoscopic cholecystectomy. That's the reason why the patient is being visited by us, that is the community health nurse, doing home visit to Ms. Raquel Jackson. The reason why we are visiting Ms. Jackson is that because of cholecystectomy. After the cholecystectomy, the patient got discharged on 19th of September 2020. And the reason for the home visit is that her daughter is going for a trip for 5 weeks. That's the reason why we visit the home of Miss Jackson. So under the community health nurse, she's under the community health nurse just because of her daughter's absence. So that is still, even though it is the reason for the home visit, but the emergency department physician has not anything to bother with that. So we just ignore that too. Now we have the visits here. The first home visit, there is no problem there. No problem there in the first home visit. Second home visit, she appeared well. So 9th of October 2020, she felt some heartburn, which lasted less than an hour in the sternum area, and contacted her general practitioner. Diagnosis, heartburn. So heartburn was the diagnosis just 2 days before. Today, she had this. So we have assessed the HbA1c, BP, temperature, blood glucose level. So GP told her to start cimetidine to stop 200 mg metformin. So this happened 2 days ago. Today, it's 11:10. So during the home visit, now we are seeing something abnormal. We were okay. When we had her previous visit, she was appearing okay, but right now she is a little bit weak, confused, tired, and you came to know that she's still on metformin. BP is elevated there. HbA1c fell from 4.5 to 4. Blood glucose levels dipped to 3.1 from 12.5. Now, you can see the diagnosis due to drug interaction, hypoglycemia. So, this is the reason why we are referring the patient to the emergency care. So let's go ahead. The letter, 11th October, that's today's date. The physician emergency department, Delmont. Spelling is wrong there. Yes. Oh, yeah. Delmont Private Hospital, North Terrace, Adelaide, South Australia. Dear doctor, or you can say dear physician, or you can say something. Address here, as long as there is no name given, we cannot give any name there. So, dear doctor, it is the formal presentation there. Salutation, dear doctor. Reference, Miss RAQUEL Jackson, age 62 years. Miss RAQUEL Jackson requires an emergency assessment and further management at your facility. So we directly started like this. Miss RAQUEL Jackson requires an emergency assessment and further management at your facility. Very simple but straightforward. We said what she requires. What happens to her? She's hypoglycemic secondary to drug interaction. So that's it. It's very brief and clear, very direct, understandable, no complications at all. You can write the purpose in a better way. I'm not telling this is the perfect one there. You can go ahead with a better way, but nothing important there. You can include, you have to include the patient name, the diagnosis, and the requirement. That's it. Today, during home visit, Ms. Jackson appeared weak and confused. Okay, good. Today, the date is already mentioned. That's 11th. It is there. Against her general practitioner's advice. So we are not sure whether it is her general practitioner or not. So against the general practitioner's advice to commence cimetidine, she was still found to have taken metformin. Now, we analyzed the reasons for the tiredness and the confusion. So we found that against the medical practitioner's advice to commence cimetidine, she was still found to have taken metformin. So that's what we found. So we have the first data to inform the emergency department doctor. Her condition is weak, confused. The second data, what we had, instead of cimetidine as per the doctor's advice, she is still taking metformin 200 mg. The third data, which here is highlighted, is the BP, which is abnormal at 145/95 mmHg. Now, something which is coming here is the blood glucose. The blood glucose level showed a drastic fall from the previously recorded level of 12.5 to 3.1. So instead of writing 2 times, see, if you are writing the blood glucose level in 9th October, and we are writing blood glucose level of today, we may have to write it in 2 sentences. HbA1c also the same. So instead of doing that, we just combined these 2 data. The figures are combined by using connective. Here the change is the drastic fall, dropped. So a change is shown here. So if you present another way, you have to say the blood glucose level on this day was this thing, the blood glucose level of this thing was this thing, HbA1c of this thing was this thing, on this day was this thing. So in order to avoid such a number of unnecessary words, to reduce the word count, we have done that. Now, Ms. Jackson was availed a regular home visit. So we are writing it in passive voice. So we are not telling that we availed regular home visit. Instead, Ms. Jackson was availed regular home visits. That means the subject is not there because we made it passive. It's not, there's no problem there. Ms. Jackson was availed regular home visits. Please be very tactful in using the passive voice correctly, because if it is not used in the proper way, the whole sentence structure will be upside down and you may lose marks. If you are not unsure, if you are not sure, if you're unsure about framing the correct sentence using the passive, then try another way. So in your own words, you can make it simplified, because you know that if you have memorized some templates, or if you have memorized some words you are tempted to use there. So these all things, you studied a lot of things, and you cannot imply all these things in a single letter there. So when it comes to the situation, you can use it. If it is not fitting to the situation, please don't use it. Please don't try experiments there. Now, passive voice is something where which we normally use in these letters in order to present this thing to another person. So be very sure how to use passive voice properly. Now, avoid regular home visits after she got discharged from hospital on 19 September following a laparoscopic surgery. So what happened? So the medical condition is clear: laparoscopic cholecystectomy. Now she was a while with a regular home visit. Since when? 19 September. Okay, so Mr. Jackson was availed with regular home visits after she got. Okay, despite a heartburn 2 days ago now, all the home visits were okay. She appeared well during this period despite heartburn 2 days ago. We're not going in detail that it started, it persisted for, or it prolonged for 2 hours, or it was in this position. So we are not going to that detail, but because she was seen by the doctor, and he or she might have changed something. So at this point, cimetidine was advised by the doctor instead of metformin. So we have already said that data in the first paragraph, so we are not going to say it here. We just stopped at heartburn 2 days ago. We have already said about cimetidine in the first paragraph. Now we have the medical condition, the most important medical condition here. She has been on metformin 200 mg since 2008, from when she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes mellitus. So instead of focusing on type 2 diabetes mellitus, we focused on something else, and we focused on the medicine she was taking. This is because of the letter is focusing on drug interaction. That's the reason why we focused on metformin instead of type 2 diabetes mellitus. Upon Miss Jackson's arrival at your department, kindly assess her condition and provide her with the best possible treatment to bring her blood sugar level back to normal. So that's the reason why I'm sending you to the emergency department. So she's hypoglycemic. So bring her blood sugar level back to normal. That's the reason here. I hope you must have understood this thing. So we'll come up with another letter soon. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.